Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into 4 completely different eras to uncover the deep-rooted drives that literally built human civilization. We're talking endurance, faith, connection, and ambition. We're going to journey across time to understand exactly how humanity pushed past basic survival to create the complex, modern world you and I live in today.
So, here is our roadmap for the journey. We'll be looking at surviving ancient Egypt, the feathered serpent's price, drums, the universal heartbeat, and finally, rising, the Manhattan skyline.
All right, part 1, surviving ancient Egypt, the pillar of endurance.
Okay, so picture this. You wake up on a scratchy straw mat on the banks of the Nile. Now, you gotta forget those romanticized golden masks for a second, because the daily reality, it was grueling. You're dealing with blistering 90-degree heat before mid-morning with zero shade. You're bathing in a river that's literally teeming with crocodiles and parasites, and breakfast? It's dense bread so heavily infused with sand from the grinding stones that it's filing down your teeth as you chew. And the rest of your day? Just endless, back-breaking labor for a pharaoh who everyone considers an actual living god.
Now you might be wondering, why on earth would anyone endure such a brutal existence? Well, it all came down to the afterlife, and the stakes were absolute. When an ancient Egyptian died, their heart was weighed against a feather. If you passed the test, you made it to the field of reeds, this beautiful, peaceful, eternal farming paradise. But if your heart was heavy with sin, it was tossed straight to Emmet the Devourer. This was a terrifying crocodile-lion-hippo hybrid, and getting eaten by it meant total, irreversible spiritual obliteration. No second chances.
And that really brings us to a crucial pivot. When sheer physical endurance just wasn't enough to make sense of the world, early societies looked up. They desperately needed ways to control fate and appease the cosmos, which perfectly sets up our next pillar.
Part 2. The feathered serpent's price. The pillar of faith and fear.
Let's travel over to ancient Mesoamerica now, specifically the massive metropolis of Teotihuacan. Rulers here maintained absolute control over 100,000 people, using a frankly terrifying deity, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. It's this wild paradox, right? The snake represents the earthbound underworld and death, while the bird represents the sky and life. So this god was the ultimate, awe-inspiring bridge between humans and the heavens.
Over 200. That is the horrifying number of young warriors found systematically sacrificed and arranged right beneath the temple. When archaeologists excavated the site, they found them with their hands bound, surrounded by obsidian blades. It was essentially a chilling message carved into stone and sealed with blood. Human life was the strict currency you had to pay to keep the cosmos turning.
To keep the masses in line, the rulers orchestrated this incredibly calculated architecture of control. First, they actually aligned the entire city grid perfectly with celestial events. Then, using those massive temples as a backdrop, priests would put on this terrifying public theater, chanting to instill pure awe. Finally, by orchestrating divine bloodletting with obsidian knives right in broad daylight, they proved they commanded the heavens. They weren't just ruling with swords, they were ruling with cosmic terror.
Okay, let's take a step back from all that macabre, monumental control. It forces us to ask a really fundamental question. Long before we built towering pyramids or even had written language to control the masses, how did early humans actually connect? How did we unite and express our deepest emotions? Which brings us to part 3, drums, the universal heartbeat, the pillar of connection.
Way before organized religion or massive sprawling empires, the drum emerged as our absolute oldest instrument. It was a true universal language. Across the globe, completely different cultures crafted unique percussive traditions for so many different reasons. Over in West Africa, the djembe is played for sacred rituals and spiritual conversation. In North America, the powwow drum acts as the literal healing heartbeat of ancestral connection. But then, on the flip side, the Ottoman Empire wielded these massive kios and davul drums for psychological warfare, basically hitting enemy lines with a terrifying wall of sound before a battle even kicked off.
And tracking this evolution is just incredible. We go from 30,000 years ago, sitting around ancient fire circles with hollowed-out logs and stretched hides, right up to the industrial age in the late 1800s, where foot pedals gave birth to the modern drum kit. By the 1920s, jazz drummers had elevated it into a lead storytelling instrument, and eventually, this primal human need for a shared pulse sparked the digital revolution in 1980 with the Roland TR-808 drum machine, totally revolutionizing the music we listen to today.
So whether it's an acoustic, animal hide, or a digital electronic beat, the reason the drum remains our most enduring voice
is beautifully simple. Rhythm bypasses the analytical mind entirely. It speaks directly to the body, the bones, and the blood. No algorithm out there can ever truly replicate the human soul and intention behind a shared, physical pulse that brings a community together. So, having firmly anchored ourselves to the earth through rhythm and shared connection, how did human ambition eventually push upward? How did we break free from the horizontal world and finally conquer gravity itself? That brings us to Part 4, Rising, the Manhattan skyline, the pillar of ambition. All right, we arrive in modern Manhattan. Beneath this famous island runs a super deep granite bedrock, which turned out to be the absolute perfect hidden foundation for a vertical explosion. Now, for centuries, gravity kept cities flat, mostly because stone walls had to be incredibly thick at the base to hold any weight. But in 1852, Otis invents the safety elevator, suddenly making the sky accessible. Fast forward to the 1890s, and steel-framed skeletons start replacing those heavy walls, making the sky buildable. This single shift sparked an unprecedented architectural race upward, giving us everything from those stunning 1930s Art Deco masterpieces all the way to the healing and rebirth at ground zero post-2001. But let's be real, this wasn't just about pretty architecture. This was fierce, cutthroat corporate warfare. Companies desperately wanted their names etched into the clouds. Just watch how rapidly the heights scale up. From the Singer Building at 612 feet to the Gothic Cathedral of Commerce, the Woolworth Building, and culminating in the ultimate icon of human ambition, the Empire State Building. It soared to a massive 1,250 feet. And the craziest part? It was built in just 410 days, right in the middle of the Great Depression.
Of course, the skyline is also a monument to profound tragedy. On September 11, 2001, the silhouette of New York was fractured. The city was forced to pause. For a moment, a culture that was completely obsessed with moving forward just stopped to mourn, turning the very absence in the sky into a powerful memorial.
But as we know, rebuilding wasn't just about replacing what was lost. It was this deeply defiant statement of resilience. One World Trade Center rose up to a highly symbolic 1,776 feet. It provided solid proof that while you can knock a city down, you absolutely cannot keep it from rising. The skyline evolved, honoring its past while stretching right back toward the future.
The skyline is literally alive. It's a relentless churn of risk, reward, and reinvention. From those early brick townhouses to the super slender needles on Billionaires Row today, the silhouette of Manhattan proves one thing. The sky has never been the limit. It's just the next floor. It's the ultimate physical reflection of our unyielding ambition.
So, we've survived the brutal sands of ancient Egypt, we've appeased terrifying gods in Mesoamerica, we've connected through the universal heartbeat of the drum, and we've engineered our way right up into the clouds. Which leaves us with this one big final question to ponder. From surviving the Earth to touching the sky, as we keep building, adapting, and seeking out new horizons, what is going to be the next chapter? What will be the next great pillar in the extraordinary story of human civilization?